Bruno Guimarães, Arsenal fans, let's actually talk about him. Let's actually talk football. I believe, and I'd love to know your thoughts, with Bruno Guimarães' signing, do you believe this is now the final piece to Arsenal's midfield? With Miles Lewis-Skelly, with Declan Rice, with Martin Zubimendi, and obviously the Brazilian international. So let's talk about what he actually brings to our team and Mikel Arteta's team, the Arsenal. Because let's have it right. If Arsenal are spending serious money, there's rumors of 70 million plus all in. It's 70 million to 80 all in. Whatever the final structure is and all of that jazz, we all know this can't be a vibe signing. He's 28, turning 29 later this year. This isn't a one day he might be a top signing for us. This is actually, it's time to deliver right now. So let's discuss what he actually brings to Mikel Arteta's team. For me, the signing of Bruno Guimarães, beyond the obvious, confirms a lot of things. We are firmly in win now mode. We just won the Premier League. We want to go one better in the Champions League and retain our Premier League and pick up as many trophies as we can. He's a player who, as we know, is a disruptor, is a controller, is a tempo setter, a connector, and somebody who plays with personality. He's not a clean metronome like a Jorginho. He's not always calm like Jorginho. He's not a stationary and a robotic six. He's a kind of an all-functioning midfielder, and he plays with a bit of edge. Sometimes for me, that edge is beautiful. Sometimes that edge will annoy you. Sometimes it will get refs. It will get us in trouble with refs. But elite teams or teams with the ambition to be elite need players with that in abundance. And let's have it right. You cannot win the Premier League, go deep in the Champions League, look at playing 50 to 60 games, handle injuries, handle pressure, handle away games, handle chaos without depth and players with the mentality to match, and without, most importantly, proper options, in which I think Bruno Guimarães ticks all of those boxes. He's firmly a forward-thinking midfielder, and at Arsenal, we love that. Now, Bruno Guimarães, let's look at the statistical data to actually match up the eye test and see if we can discover anything else. As we know, he's a midfielder, he's 28 years of age, and we're going to look at where he ranked in the 2025-26 season. For Jules 1, and we know how much that means to Arsenal in the current game, 42nd percentile. Possession 1, 39th percentile. Progressive carries, 60th percentile. Forward passes completed, 84th percentile. Forward pass completion percentage, 54th percentile. Key passes, 71st percentile. Progressive passes completed, he's in the 84th percentile. And minutes played, he played 2,764. Now, that stats tells us everything we know. He's a very good footballer. But let's dig a bit deeper into that, Arsenal fans. The stats say Bruno is very good at moving the ball forward. His strongest numbers clearly are forward passes, progressive passes, and key passes. That means, obviously, he's good at playing passes that move the team up the pitch and creates attack. I think Bruno gives Arsenal progression, risk, forward passing, and creativity from midfield. But there's no way of looking at it. There is some shortcomings defensively, in which, as a team and as a system and as a manager, every player has weaknesses and strengths. You need to improve / hide the weaknesses and enhance what they're good at, people. He's clearly top percentile on the ball. Defensively, he's not in the elite kind of bracket. His weakest numbers are Jules 1. He's in the 42nd percentile. Possession 1, he's in the 39th percentile. So that shows me Bruno gives Arsenal control with aggression, but he's not exactly Declan Rice or anywhere near him defensively, although he will muck in. That being said, though, we did mention duels. We know how much duels mean to Mikel Arteta and how much they're relevant and prevalent in the modern game, people. So I'm not going to be pedantic. But to be fair, let's look at the duels. Now, when you look at Bruno Guimarães' duels won by Premier League season at Newcastle, in the 23-24 season, he had 286. He was first. The following season, he was also first with 243. Apologies, people. 2022-23, he was second with 227. And last season, he was second with 168 people. So he's one of the top rankers at Newcastle for that. Once again, we know Arteta is massive on duels. He speaks about it all the times. Win your duels, win your battles, earn the right to play football. At Newcastle, he's consistently been one of their main warriors across his 4 full seasons there. He's either finished first or second for total duels won among Newcastle players every season. That tells you he's not hiding. He's down for the fight, and he doesn't hide from that aspect in the Premier League. And when you compare Arsenal midfielders last season, the numbers give you food for thought. Bruno won 6.4 duels per 90. That was more than any of Arsenal's central midfielders. He also won 1.6 tackles per 90. Again, more than any of Arsenal's midfield options. For recoveries, only Declan Rice was ahead of him. Bruno had 5.0. Declan Rice had 5.2. Now there's some mitigating factors. We've probably been on top of sides a lot more than Newcastle. So if you're winning the ball, if you're dominating and you have it in their half, naturally you're not going to have to win the ball back. But I don't want to be pedantic. So when people say, can Bruno do the physical side? Yeah, there can be improvements, but clearly he can. And there's an element of at 28, turning 29, you are what you are, and what you see is what you get. But it's not like Newcastle was some team defending for 90 minutes, to be fair, every week either. Newcastle averaged 52.8% possession last season. Arsenal averaged 56.3%. So Bruno's numbers are not just inflated because Newcastle never had the ball. So that does give you food for thought. Then this is where the fun begins. Should we look at him in comparison once again to Arsenal midfielders, just for the culture? We know they're not all the same, but you get the point. Where you look at Bruno Guimarães versus Arsenal midfielders last season, he had, as stated, 1.6 tackles won, and recovery stand at 4.0. Jules won 6.1. So that is more than Miles Lewis-Skelly, more than Martin Zubimendi, more than Eze, Ødegaard, or Declan Rice in certain regards, people. So we've got a complementary blend of midfield options there. Bruno's not just a technical signing. He's an Arteta signing, clearly. Tackles, duels, recovery, aggression, Premier League intensity. He gives Arsenal another midfielder who can plug in and play and fight and play. And that, what does that tell you? Bruno brings the following to Arsenal, in my opinion: forward passing, progressive passing, chance creation from deeper areas, carrying through the midfield, Premier League experience, edge and personality, and another player who can break lines. You can never have enough of them, whether he's going to play in the left side of midfield or the right-hand side. And then you dig a bit deeper and you look at his Premier League statistics last season: 29 games played, 14 goal involvements, 1.7 chances created per game, 7 big chances created, 2.6 tackles plus interceptions per game. That's crazy, because last season was his most productive of his Newcastle career. He got 9 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League. That was actually his best return in front of goal, which is obviously intriguing to Arsenal fans, people. He's like their do-it-all man, if I'm honest. And you look at his goal contributions, you can see progression. He's registered 6 in his first half season before producing 9 in 2022-23, 15 in 23-24, and 11 in 24-25. And again, last season's return of 14 goal contributions came in fewer starts than either of his previous 3 campaigns. So this shows me Bruno Guimarães is not just a luxury midfielder. He's not a luxury midfielder. The numbers say he gives you creativity, goal involvement, defensive output, and Premier League proven influence, people. It's a weird one with Bruno Guimarães because I must admit, statistically, he's not as good defensively as I think, but I still think there's more upside to it. You know, defensively, you could argue he probably looks like a luxury player, but he's not a luxury midfielder. And the numbers say he gives you creativity, goal involvement, defensive work to a degree, and obviously Premier League proven influence, people. And again, on top of everything, us knowing he's a good player, why wouldn't you want him? But if I'm honest, one of the most underappreciated and under-talked about aspects of his signing is availability. Few players in the Premier League can match Guimarães in that regards. Since he made his debut for Newcastle in February of 2022, he's played 195 matches. That's more than any other player at the club, Newcastle, during that period. So that means Arsenal will once again have confidence that we'll have players fit. We're again hoping to go all the way and go as deep as we can in all 4 competitions. And we're looking to play upwards of 50 to 60 plus matches as we did in the 2025-26 season. So again, that's another plus point. It's also hard to overstate just how integral, beyond the obvious, he was to Eddie Howe's Newcastle side. You know, the record without him is stark. Since joining in 2022, people, Guimarães has missed just 16 league matches. Newcastle have won just 2 of those games. They've won 52.3% of the 153 matches he has featured and averaged 1.8 points per match without him. Those figures fall to 12.5% and 0.7 points per game, respectively. Everything gets worse when Guimarães is missing, clearly. Goals per game drop, goals against rise without him. Newcastle's record is relegation worthy without him. With him, they perform like a top 6 side, which they have been in recent years, people. So again, it is great. And again, people, you have to look at what he can give you on the ball, man, because that's something, because we dominate possession, but he would be, it's like having another lock pick to unlock another lock. At the 2026 World Cup, Brazil, naturally, unfortunately, as you could probably see there in my Brazil shirt, didn't go as far as I or many people wanted them to, like Guimarães, but he still patterned his business. 4 assists in 5 games, not to mention he's a threat taking and scoring from set pieces. That tells you straight away he's not a safe midfielder. He'll be safe when you need to, but he can affect games for us in the final third. When you look at how he played for Newcastle in the 2025-26 season compared to 24-25, you can see the shift. He's getting higher up the pitch. He's having more touches in dangerous zones, more involvement in that right channel, which is why I said earlier, is he going to play on the left or the right, people? And you can see his influence, which is naturally important for Arsenal. You could argue this is not just a control signing. It's a signing that almost marks a bit of evolution. The touch map shows he moved higher. The World Cup assist shows he can create. And that inside right role tells you Arteta could use him as a proper 8, not just a stationary number 6, which is probably a myth in today's day and age, let alone Arsenal Football Club, people. Again, there are a lot of things that he can improve. Doesn't look elite in certain aspects, if I'm completely honest, as I said, with his defensive stuff. So if Arsenal are spending 70, 80 plus, the question is, are Arsenal buying Bruno as a creative / progressive 8, or are they expecting him to be a pure 6? And that's intriguing to me, because when we signed Declan Rice, he was world class at West Ham. We knew what he was. He took that West Ham stuff and just put on a new shirt and was doing it, but he saw other aspects in his game. He's getting goals, he's getting assists, he's doing things in the final third. Now, obviously, Declan's a couple years younger, and you go back to when he was signed, so there's obviously more scope there. What you see is what you kind of get from Bruno. But at 28, I do think the player's the finished article. But in general, you're never too late. You're never too late to learn new things. So I am intrigued as to not only how Mikel Arteta will use him, but what sort of Bruno will we see? What other facets are we going to see from Bruno? Respectfully to Newcastle, what other elements of his game has he not been able to express in that Eddie Howe side, people? So yeah, man, the data says he's better as a progressive midfield connector, not really a Rodri side, but it tells you this is good, man. You know, creativity, progression, and edge to go with Zubimendi, security, control, and efficiency, and Rice's power, carrying, and duels, and the rest of our players. I'm here for this, people. I'm so here for this. Before we carry on, I wanted to compare him to Arsenal midfielders and give a bit more food for thought. So let's expand on that point a tiny bit more before we start broadening off onto different talking points, folks. I mean, naturally, you know, Zubimendi and Bruno Guimarães are two very different players. And in fact, all of our midfield options that are likely to play in the pivot are all different. But they can all probably play as 6s in it. And 8s, but 6s. So let's start with Zubimendi. Zubimendi clearly beats Bruno Guimarães on the following, people. Jules 1, Zubimendi 190, Bruno 142. Forward pass accuracy, Zubimendi's got 78 to Bruno's 54 minutes. Obviously, Zubimendi had the most minutes of any club campaign to date of his career, 3,305. Bruno had 2,764. So Zubimendi, in comparison, looks more like a clean, secure, reliable kind of controller. But then it gets interesting because Bruno beats Zubimendi on the following. Key passes, Bruno's got 71 to Zubimendi's 39. Progressive passes, Bruno's got 84 to Zubimendi's 69. Progressive carries, Bruno's got 60 to Zubimendi's 54. So Bruno looks more aggressive and creative with a ball. Zubimendi gives us structure. Bruno gives Arsenal incision. And then you start to compare. You could compare to Rice and obviously Ødegaard. I don't really like the Ødegaard comparison, but this is what was available online. When you look at their kind of graphics, people, Rice and Ødegaard actually score better than Bruno in a lot of these areas. Rice is higher for duels, carries, forward pass accuracy percentage, key passes, progressive passes. Ødegaard looks elite for key passes, progressive passes, carries, and forward passes. But obviously, Ødegaard isn't going to win as many duels. His duel / possession one numbers are very low because he's not that kind of midfielder, people. So the argument is not, is he better than Rice or Ødegaard? The argument is he gives Arsenal another level midfielder who can progress the ball, create, compete, and let Rice, Ødegaard, Zubimendi, Lewis Skelly, and any other Arsenal player share the burden, people. And ultimately just make us better. You know, when you look at it, Bruno doesn't replace Arsenal midfielders. He gives Arteta another weapon and changes the combinations. On the topic of combinations, people, I just want to make another point. This is not about managing the squad properly, people. Sorry, this is also about managing the squad properly. Declan Rice can't do everything forever. We're running him into the ground. Zubimendi was running to the ground, which is probably why you saw a very good Zubimendi in the first half of last season. Second half, he fell by the wayside. And thank the Lord we got Miles Lewis Skelly. As great as Rice is, and he'll play every minute, we need to have a squad in it. Rice just had a huge domestic campaign and he's played at the World Cup and it's well known he's carrying knocks, people. And it would not shock anyone if Arsenal have to protect his minutes earlier in this current season. That's where Bruno, beyond the obvious, could becomes of even more value because Bruno can share a lot of the physical and defensive responsibility, can win duels, recover the ball, tackle, receive under pressure, and ultimately help Arsenal further control games. So instead of Rice always having to be the legs, the power, the ball winner, the carrier, the leader, the safety net, Bruno gives Arsenal and Arteta another option. Then you look at Zubi. Zubi played big minutes and faded badly, as I said, towards the end of last season. That's not me saying he's not good. You lot know I love Zubi, but that's football. Players get tired, people lose form, legs go, sharpness drops. So having Bruno means Arsenal are not relying on one or two midfielders to carry the whole season. He can play as an 8, he can play deeper, he can play with Rice, he can protect Rice, he can protect Zubi. They can protect him. He can give Arteta rotation without lowering the level. And then there are things you just cannot put in a spreadsheet: leadership, Premier League experience, big game edge, Brazilians, captain energy, battle scars, personality, the willingness to want to win now. He had a great memory at Newcastle. We've won the Premier League. He ain't got a Premier League medal. Arsenal trying to win back-to-back titles, people. That's not normal pressure. Everyone is coming for us now. We've got a target on our back. Everybody wants to take our chain. So you need players who have been in Premier League wars, people. Bruno is not just about improving Arsenal's 11. He improves the squad survival. He helps Rice breathe. He gives Zubi protection. He could actually do very well with Lewis Skelly. He gives Arteta another high-level option and brings leadership for a team once again trying to go back-to-back. And then, people, be an interesting outlook. If you've been following my channel for a number of years, every year I've asked for a central midfielder. So with Bruno, I know squads are always evolving and there's always need for change and all of those kind of things. But we would finally, for me, have our midfield sorted. Our defense is sorted. It's for another video. But then the conversation, goes back to our attacking unit. But staying on task with the midfield, I think we've got the best centre-half partnership in the Premier League, potentially in the world with Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. Who has better? You know what? Better yet, who's got better midfield? If we do get Bruno and have Rice together as a partnership, who's got a better partnership than that? And then you throw in Lewis Skelly and Zubi and look at the four of those. Who's got better midfield depth? And then you could throw in an Ødegaard, an Eze, a Merino, a Kai Havertz, who throughout a course of a 50-plus game season can deputize and we can do little cute and clever things. So who would have a better midfield partnership than us? Who would have better midfield collective options than us? I'm not saying we're the bee's knees, but you get the point, And I think Rice and Bruno, they will complement. Both can play as 6s, both can play as 8s. Rice has obviously added more to his game beyond just being a 6 in every year that he's been at Arsenal. Bruno can do a bit of both. Good players always get the best out of each other. Be interesting to see if Rice will be moved to the right or Guimarães will be slotted in there, or if actually, Guimarães just slots in off the right, and it'd be interesting to see how he links up with our right back, Bukayo, Ødegaard, and that right-hand side, people. Even though our left-hand side needs a lot of surgery, people. That pivot will give us everything, people. Bruno and Rice could be a serious partnership because they cover different problems. We know Rice gives you the power, he gives you moments, he gives you recovery, he gives you jewels, he gives you ball carrying, but they both give you leadership. But Rice gives you that defensive cover and range, a set-piece threat, big game and big moments, people, where he looks like the most complete player on the pitch. But with Arsenal, there's always been that question: do you want Rice as a deepest midfielder? Do you want him as a left 8? Do you want him as a box-to-box? Do you want Rice protecting against transitions? Do you want Rice crashing into the opposition box? The answer to them is yes. Clearly, we want him doing all of that. But he can't do everything at once, and he can't be expected to do it every game. Bruno helps because he can share the build-up responsibility. Drop in, receive under pressure, play through the first line and many lines and any lines on that football pitch, take the ball continuously on a half turn and connect defense to attack, people. That means Rice doesn't always have to be the man doing the ugly work and all of the work, really. The covering work, the progressive work, the running work, and the emotional leadership all in one match. With Bruno, Rice can sometimes be released to step higher. He can arrive to the edge of the area. He can press a bit more aggressively. He could cover wider zones, people. And he could be a left-hand monster we saw when he was given that license. And for me, that is one of the clearest points and upsides to getting Bruno. Bruno doesn't replace Rice. He allows Arsenal to use Rice in more ways, as well as rotation. He can play the pass before the pass. He can draw pressure, then release. He can switch play. He can also step into that right or left half space when other midfielders drop. And this ultimately is designed at helping Arsenal evolve, become less predictable, and win trophies, people. You can't and you don't want to have one source of creativity. You need multiple sources. And I know I've focused on Rice and obviously Bruno Guimarães, but we've got some good partnerships. Declan Rice and obviously Miles Lewis-Skelly came to the fore towards the end of the last season. Statistically, our first choice midfield at this moment in time is Rice and Zubi because they've played the most times. But Rice and Zubi is a good partnership. Lewis-Skelly and Rice could be great. Bruno Guimarães and Skelly could be well. Rice and Bruno Guimarães and all varieties of that across the course of a season, bearing in mind people get injuries. I'm sorted, if I'm completely honest with you. And don't even sleep on Miles Lewis-Skelly playing on the right-hand side of centre mid, despite the fact that he's left-footed, people. Variety is the spice of life. And that's before you mention, once again, the Havertzes, the Marinos, the Ødegaards, the Ezes, on paper, Wanyeri, on paper, Dauman, even though they probably play more off the right, across the course of a 50-plus game campaign, people. Very slyly, again, we might have the best midfield collective options, people. So we have everything. And if I've waffled, let me say it shortly. Rice gives you power and protection and moments. Zubamendi gives you security, control, and football IQ. Miles Lewis-Skelly gives you personality and ball carrying. Ødegaard will give you creativity and final third invention. Bruno gives you progression, bite, personality, and that extra attacking link from midfield. So we've got all the ingredients we need, people. So then, people, I've got the following thoughts. As I said in the earlier stage of this video, we ran both Zubamendi and Rice into the ground. So we need cover. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it, or whatever the saying is, people. And I know we're going to sit here and say, oh, what does it mean for Lewis-Skelly? Is he going to get football? What does it mean for Zubi? Bearing in mind, Zubi lost his place at the end of the year. I understand that, but it's all fun and games when it's one game a week. You see, when it starts to get to 2 games a week, 3 games in 10 days, there's wear and tear, there's international breaks, there's injuries, there's people losing form, there's changing team dynamics. This is now why you need a squad, people. And again, we need a competitive squad. Again, you never know. Mikel Arteta might deploy a different kind of midfield, which would mean Eze or Ødegaard or people that play in that role might miss out. But what I would say is, if we look at, and I've tried to focus on people that play in the pivot, so, you know, the people that are likely to partner Declan Rice. There's 4 of you in Zubamendi, Rice, Lewis-Skelly, and Guimarães. There's 2 positions. Make sure Mikel Arteta doesn't leave you out, because it's good problems. And then I also look at it. Did Andrea Berta not want to sign him last year? You know, so again, we must have been braced and wanted to move into those kind of conversations. Had we have kept Thomas Partey, you would have had him, Zubi, and obviously Rice. There would have kind of been those same talking points, if that kind of makes sense, people. And again, for me, it's a win now mode signing. Like, this tells me we want to win now. I'm sure Guimarães wants to win now, people. You know, and again, another thing that I'm keen to see with Bruno is, remember how I said it earlier, remember how Rice improved as an all-rounder and we saw other facets. I wonder what tricks Mikel Arteta has up his sleeve for Bruno Guimarães, because fair enough, Newcastle fans know about him, we know about him, but we're not watching him week in, week out. So there's things we're going to learn about him anyways, and then we might see things shift. You know, Rice hasn't exactly, in his 3-4 years he's been here, played the same kind of role and mold, people. So yeah, man, and I like Bruno because forward passes, aggressive with everything he does, aggressive in the right way. And I think he does move the needle in midfield for me. Dark arts, personality, leadership. You know, he comes here being a Premier League captain or an ex-Premier League captain, Premier League experience, big game arrogance. You know, them Brazilian man want it. They thrive in that kind of chaos, people. So I do think we need that, man. And we need to, for me, puff out our chest this season and have that healthy arrogance, because we are the Premier League winners, man. I mean, Saka's starting to become a bit of a villain in that regards. Saliba has it. Magalhaes is probably the best example. Skelly has it. Rice has it. And there's plenty more to come from people as well. And I do think, you know, every signing's a risk. Everyone needs to adapt. You know, Eze went from a Premier League team to another one in Arsenal. But I do think the adaptation period is minimal, and the adaptation risk is minimal as well, people. So yeah, man, this is not Arsenal buying someone from another league and hoping the physicality translate. Bruno's already shown he can play Premier League football. Probably knows all about Arsenal system. He's got personality. He's a popular figure in and around Newcastle as a football club and their dressing room. So he's got the psychological factors, which would make it work, people. And naturally, you know, if Arsenal sign him, Arteta has to be clear of how he's going to use him. I know people play different roles, but is he going to be a 6? Is he going to be an 8? Is he going to be part of the double pivot? Is he rotating with Rice? Is he next to Zubamendi? Is he a game state midfielder? Because, you know, the role has to have some sort of clarity. I do think he improves our midfield. I do think he improves progression. I do think he improves control. I do think he improves our aggression. But he doesn't massively give Arsenal that kind of next level feeling, people. You know, it's for another video, but that's where the Alvarez's, the Vinicius's, the Joe Bloggs, those kind of attacking players are required, people. 80 million odd for a 28-year-old turning 29 in November is serious money. And I actually rate that because, again, I don't care in that disregards, and I don't care for it in general at times. This ain't a resale signing. You're not buying Bruno in the hope that you could achieve things and flip him for a profit in 3 years. You're buying him because you believe in the next 3-4 years, in this present moment, this is Arsenal's window to win trophies. And I would ask you lot, is this Arsenal's trophy window? You'd probably say yes, people. And I mean, let's have it right. When you have Saliba, Bruno, Gabriel, Rice, Saka, Timber, Raya, Gyökeres, Eze, Max Dauman, Mad Max, this one, that one, You're not in a project anymore. We've won a title and got to 2 finals, people. The process is done. We've trusted the process and we've delivered. It's now time to just deliver silverware. Sometimes you have to pay a premium when it comes to win now mode, people. So 80 million for a player who's turning 28, who's 28, turning 29 is serious money. But if you win trophies, you're not going to care, people. Again, that's the thing for me. And it'll be interesting to see who is going to be the first choice pivot. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, people. Comment below, like the video, subscribe if you're new here. Let me know how you feel. Do you think Bruno Guimarães is a level raiser? Are you against this signing? Is it smart business or is it too much money? Don't forget to check out the YouTube playlist. And I'll see you again on the next one.